Only one. Noctula mdenini wami. Mapenoctula siyegugula ngoba masibambisana siyajabula, izinto siyalunga siyathuthuka. Abantwana bayafunda. But December I'm not home, cause I'm in and out of shows. When my son turned 2 years old, catching flights and feeling low. Office didn't care or no, still I gotta get the dough. I can't stay, I gotta go, I can't even take it slow, no. Ansajanu pila kanjena. We used to solve problems together. Pilela wena, mamela. Lord, I pray, keep my family safe. Hope we all get through this phase. Man, I wish that I could stay. I don't think they know my pain. They just know I'm getting paid. Say I'm taken by the fame. I'm not home on holidays. December siyakuko ngiyacela Nkosi, cela kangomehluko, angifune imoto entsha, angifune muso omusha, iyodwa into engiyifunayo, benokuthula emndenini wami. Sibanga into engekho, sibanga uba, sexabana sibanga imizyoba, sesingayakhanga, sibanga ifa, singasebenzelanga, babodwa babhizi ngani ngamavesi andlela, munye uthi kusakhona uba nekhangeke ngena, kanye ziyazwana kodwa anti abakhulumisana. Mama nomalume kazi ngikhuluma nawe manje nje yabazwana. Into engizoyithini ngoba umalume akasekho emhlabeni. Banozongibonisa ngikadele nkinga ngoba ubaba naye akasekho emhlabeni. Nkosi ngicela kuwe December suka kuwo, bengikuhle neze. December siyakuko ngiyacela Nkosi, cela kangomehluko, angifune imoto entsha, angifune muso omusha, iyodwa into engiyifunayo, benokuthula emndenini wami.
WTCC FM, D.Moss, Monday Night Live, 90.7, broadcasting remote. We in the campus of Springfield Technical Community College. You just heard sounds of my man Sava out of South Africa, that South African soul. Right now,
hey, John, you know I know what you're talking about, man. Something about the situation seem tight for me. See, I know the type of girl you're talking about. She never sweats, but she still work it out. Lord knows that she can feel in some jeans, and when she moving, she be blessing the seams. Yeah, it's like I already know her. The girl that made me lose my composure. I thought she might have been an illusion, but when I saw too, I realized it was her damn sister. The girl that I'd been talking to had a damn sister. Hey, I could be a fan sister, but tell me, is she good like you or the bad sister? I mean, damn sister, I wonder what we should do now. We could be a damn sister, cause we could never be a crowd.
Sure tastes good to me. Can I be your lover? Not your friend, but your sex machine. I'll be you in every way, mind, heart, and soul. Let me be the one. Let me be the one. Please you, baby.
Damn sister, you're the one I want. Yeah. Damn sister, let me hear your spot, baby. Damn sister, oh damn sister, I won't miss our please. Damn sister, oh baby. Damn sister, I won't let you down. Think that it suffices to say that you move me, baby. You move me. You're truly something special, and I can't help but say, damn. 5'9" with jet black hair. Where did you come from? I really don't care. All I know is you got me wrapped up, and you ain't even said hello. You got me saying, damn. Ooh, when she came around, I just had to smile. Can we talk for a while? Baby girl, I like your sway and your style. Ooh, your so curvy. Baby doll, I want you to introduce yourself to me, and we can just have a little bit of fun. Maybe later on you'll be Mrs. Robertson. You got me singing, damn sister, the way you look good to me. Damn sister, pretty please. Damn sister, won't you come to my place and be damn sister next to me? Damn sister, hey, hey, hey. Damn sister, the way you look good to me. One more time. My name is E-R-I-C-E-R-S-O-B-E, R-S-O-N. I wanna know, can we be just friends? Not like music so chat, we can kick the freestyle. I wanna know you like
90.7 WTCC FM. My name is D.Moss. Cooling in the studio with my man Rob Jones.
Good evening, good evening.
SCSU's in the house, y'all. Woo! Okay, well, SCSU 1.5.
You went, bro.
Yo.
You impacted that school more than I did.
Yo.
Well, for different reasons, different things.
You stayed for the long haul. You were like, yeah, I'm going to stick it out. I did like Kanye. I was like, I think I'm done. I'm going to graduate myself. I should have at least did that last semester. Yeah.
Yeah, knock it out, man.
Was that like 30 years ago?
More than that.
It don't even matter no more. All right, y'all. This is 90.7. Shout out to my girl Mona Jordan Reed. She is always on deck with us.
Word.
I so appreciate her.
Oh, and Robert. I was an afterthought.
I
okay, yeah. All right.
And for anybody else who's listening via the radio at 90.7, if you're driving in your car, sitting at home, whatever the case may be, we're just glad you're vibing with us. So I'm on till midnight. He'll probably be here till like 10:30. Bro got an early bedtime. He older than me.
10:30.
By less than a few years.
You better rewind that back.
Yo. So there's a lot of things happening, man. I tell you what, this is normally Rob's segment. So it's 9:30. I'm gonna let Rob kick it. Go ahead, man.
So, can I tell you how I was petty today?
That's new.
Yeah, I know people are gonna be like, "Was Rob Jones being petty?" Oh no, never. So, you remember this was before COVID when when you had the immigration problem, and they were putting immigrants from Central America and Mexico in cages and all that other stuff.
Yep.
So it was a friend of mine who's black. She was posting all the stuff on her Facebook page, right?
Yep.
Get them out of cages, free the immigrants, free this. This is unconscionable. How can we do this? They're humans. Blah 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 blah. So I went on her Facebook page and I went back a few days, and she's got nothing. When I say nothing, I mean less than zero comments on her page regarding what's going on in Texas with the Haitian. They're calling them migrants. People don't realize that how insidious the media is and how strategic they are with their language and their words.
Right.
When it was everybody else, it was immigrants, but because it's Haitians, it's migrants. And the great Paul Mooney said, and you probably got it from somebody else, but this first time I heard it was like, they don't have the complexion for the protection.
Right.
And so I reached.
I said it bees like that.
Yeah. So I reached out to her and I was like, "Hey, how you doing? Just checking in." She said, good. We were chatting it up. I said, hey, I noticed that, you don't have nothing on your Facebook page with what's going on with the Haitians being deported and Biden taking advantage of a loophole in a law that Trump put in that the Supreme Court ruled unconstitutional, but it's like 14 days and then they have to stop doing what they're doing. So they have like 6+ flights out every day out of Texas with airplanes full with Haitian immigrants, not migrants, immigrants. So they're really trying to maximize, trying to get as many out as possible within that 14-day window. Right. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I was gonna get to it. It's not that big of a deal." I said, "Oh, okay."
Of course, it's not a big deal.
I said, "Oh, okay." I just wanted to let you know that people are watching, what you put on, and it seems like you're caping for one group that has nothing to do with you over another group that shares your same melanin. Right. And I said, but I gotta go. I got a conference call. Chew on that for a little bit, and then I hung up. So that was me being super petty. But it's kind of like, do you see the juxtaposition there, man? It's just crazy.
Look, I don't know. My personal opinion, I just believe that everybody's tribal, except for Black people. I think we're the only ones that aren't tribal. We're universal. We're always talking about everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
We want to, we'll cape for everybody else's plight, except for our own.
Except for our own, yeah.
If we were deporting folks on a regular basis to any other country, folks would be up in arms. But because it's the Haitian community, people just sit back, and we've been numb to the plight of the Haitians. So my Haitian brothers and sisters, much love to you. We've been really numb. I mean, Black folks have been numb to it. So we can't expect anybody else. And the key thing about this this deportation of Haitians nowadays, but you need to understand that Haiti's in a state of crisis right now.
Been in a state of crisis for a while because they had the earthquake in 2010 that they still haven't recovered from.
Then they just had the new one. They've had an overthrow of their government. There's been a lot happening. So to send them back now, I don't think they send back any group of people while their countries are in crisis. It's just crazy.
We're taking in this. They say between 14 to 15,000 Haitian immigrants corralled under this bridge in Texas, and they're kicking them out. But we're taking in 28,000 Afghan refugees. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's 2+. Are we in the twilight zone or what? I mean, we know the hypocrisy of it all, and they know the hypocrisy of it all. But these are people that folks keep voting in, and it doesn't matter if it's on the Democratic side or the Republican side. You got to get these cats out.
It's absolutely insane. And it's like we got work, and it's like it's not even about getting people out of office. I think we have to step our game up in terms of making sure that people understand what we will accept and what we won't accept, and that's where the political involvement comes in. So I agree with you. We do have to get people out, but we have to get people out of the houses and get them actively involved in this process. So if it's going to be there's a little clip. Let's play it.
Nos équipes sont déjà mobilisées à travers tous ces deux aéroports-là, justement, pour accueillir les migrants de retour forcé. Mais le problème, c'est que les gens n'acceptent pas le retour forcé. D'ailleurs, c'est la raison pour laquelle ils ont laissé le pays, parce qu'ils ne voulaient plus vivre à Haïti. Donc, ça veut dire de toutes les façons, même quand on disposerait normalement d'un centre le plus grand, le plus vaste au monde, le plus bien équipé au monde, ils n'allaient pas accepter. Parce que pour eux, Haïti, c'est l'enfer. Haïti, c'est le gros problème.
Moi, je quitte Haïti pour marcher parce que je me chercher un de mes meilleurs. On de mes meilleurs parce que tout jeune Haïti là, nous te mettons fini études classiques nous pas besoin de travail pour nous faire. Nous pas besoin rien pour nous faire, c'est dans la rue nous laguer. Et c'est ça qui fait que plus de monde dans la rue qu'a demandé et c'est ça qui fait que pile délinquants dans la rue, c'est parce que l'état pays nous pas penser pour nous. Si on te met de travail, nous pas passer misère dans notre pays. Si on te met au moins factory, mettez travail pour nous pas mandant pile. Parce que là, nous arrivons dans notre pays, travail nous pas fait là, Haïti, c'est on a le fait. Premièrement, mettez-nous.
Yo, it's
But the bottom line is, man, they're putting the Haitian. Hey, what's up, P. Andy? They're really putting the Haitian community through hell again here in the States, and it's just kind of crazy. I mean, there's just
they don't do that with the Cubans. They don't do that with Eastern Europeans, Western Europeans. They don't do that with Asians. They don't do that with Central Americans, South Americans. They don't do that with anybody else. But the minute the melanin pops out, that black skin pops up, whether if you're from the Caribbean or from Africa, it's a problem.
It's like they're still mad at Haiti because of Toussaint and Dessalines. Yeah. What took place when they got their independence. Yo, it's absolutely insane.
Well, they took their independence. They didn't get it. They fought what? The British, the French, the Dutch, the Portuguese, and they whipped all of them.
Not according to white historians.
Well, yeah, well, of course, you know.
Yo, it's just crazy. The bottom line is people should be calling Congressman Neal's office to see what he can do. He's chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee.
Daryl, House Ways and Means Committee. How important is that committee?
They're the most significant committee in the House of Representatives down in D.C. They sign off on all the checks. They're one of the most powerful and one of the most critically important committees in the House. So it's like he's a powerful dude. He's our congressman. He's in this area, and we should be calling his office to make sure that he's addressing. Hey, what's up, Mayfield? We should be making sure that he's addressing the issue of Haitian deportation from Texas and whatever other points that they establish and back to Haiti.
Yeah, because the other thing is he is addressing and constantly doing things and advocating for the Irish in this country and over in Ireland.
Absolutely.
Everything he does, a lot of things he does is to help the Irish community in this country and also the Irish citizens in Ireland.
Right.
And he's Irish, and you know what? He's supposed to do that.
Right.
But, you know, okay, you got that, but what are you doing for us?
Right. But the thing is, it's kind of like if we don't hold these elected officials accountable, then of course we'll always be asking the question, what are they doing for us? But the thing is, who's calling his office? I mean, actually, I'm gonna find this number. If people want to call, we'll post a number for Congressman Neal and anybody else who represents us in this area, because people need to be making phone calls. This is absolutely insane. Jim Price said they got melanin folks living with a whole different code altogether. It's sad. Yo, Jim, I'm telling you now.
He hit the nail on the head with that.
Right.
He hit the nail on
sympathies for the people of Haiti. Absolutely. It's like, how do you go back to a country that is torn apart? I mean, how do you send them back, man? It's just absolutely insane.
Well, when you get that, give us your huddled masses, your poor, your, you know, whatever the rest of that.
Right.
That does not include us. That does not include black folks.
I need to read this again.
Yeah,
we live under a different code altogether. So I'm just simply saying, people need to pay attention to what's happening. This is happening now.
Yeah.
This isn't something that was taking place last week or last month or back in the month of June. It's happening now.
And it's them, but it's also us too. You know, no, that's that they gotta. Yeah, I understand people gotta hold their own nuts. I get that, but this is like this two degrees of separation.
Right.
And we're dealing with it, right? We're dealing with the stuff that we're dealing with here in this country.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. They're saying that the authorities are expecting to send back, to deport at least 14,000 Haitians over the next 3 weeks. That's just the next 3 weeks out of this camp in Texas. So, I mean, if you were a Haitian migrant, you made it to the States, you know, your kids are in school, you're stabilized, you have a job, you have money coming in, you secure shelter, the whole nine. And then all of a sudden you start hearing about, you know, all the people in this country, they're going to be returning Haitians again. And
all the people in this country. Can
right.
you say that again, please, for the people sitting in the back?
All the people in this country, they're going to be deporting Haitians en masse again.
And they probably got family here. There's a lot of Haitian Americans in this country.
There's an encampment of about that size, about 14,000 to 15,000, has formed in the Texas border town of Del Rio in recent days as Haitian and other migrants crossed over the Rio Grande from Mexico. The Biden administration has said it is moving swiftly to deport them under a Trump era pandemic order. So the thing is,
They talk junk about Trump.
We pulled our votes to get rid of Trump, and the Biden administration, instead of correcting the wrongs, they're following through on. That's a major issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of major issues, but to keep it on track and keep it on topic, that is a major issue, because how are you going to do that on one hand, and then in the other hand, bring over 28,000 Afghan immigrants?
Right.
You know, explain that to me.
Right.
And those folks have less than what the Haitians got.
Yeah, and Haiti, I mean, they're making it clear that representative for Haiti said the Haitian state is not really able to receive these deportees. They're just not prepared. They're dealing with the chaos that already exists on the island. And now you're sending thousands more. They're just not prepared to receive them. So that's going to be interesting. The Haitians have appealed to the United States for suspension of deportations, which will likely to increase the pressure on the Biden administration, which is grappling with the highest level of border crossings in decades.
Yeah.
So, you know,
non-black border crossings. And, you know, now, yeah, okay, we got your appeal. Now we got to go through the red tape. We got to go through the red tape. And the other thing that's interesting is, and this is purely supposition, the Haitians historically have come on rafts or whatever, and they've come through water.
Mm-hmm.
So they came through Mexico because they see that everybody else is coming through Mexico.
Yeah, right.
you know what I'm saying?
Jim says we went and fought against Hitler that had the KKK terrorizing people of color, more specifically black people back in the States at the same time. Absolutely. World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War,
Civil War,
Desert Shield, you name it. You know, our folks, my dad did a tour over in Korea, came back, man, him and his folks had to get up out of Alabama and come up here for fear of their own safety.
But you know what's crazy is during World War II, the German prisoners were treated better than the black GIs.
Most of the German leaders went on to, to take on positions of power. I mean, I was going through a list the other day in my readings, and I'm looking at all those folks that said we beat Hitler. But then you turn around, you look at all those Nazi officials who came over to the States and to Europe, and they went on to, complete their careers. It's just absolutely insane. But getting on Haiti, I'm just saying people really need to be contacting Congressman Neal to see what his office is doing about that, to see what they're addressing, see how they're addressing it.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy is it's just ridiculous. It defies logic. It defies logic.
It absolutely does. What else would defy logic is us not responding. So contact your congressman. He's located on 300 State Street, Suite 200. His telephone number is 413-785-0325. Again, his Springfield office number is 413-785-0325.
Can you type that in the thing?
Yeah, I will. In D.C., Congressman Neal's office number is 202-225-5601. Again, his D.C. number is 202-225-5601. If you have an issue and a concern with what they're doing with the Haitians who came here to seek refuge, and they're sending them back to a country that just isn't prepared. They're not sending anybody back, anybody else back to, countries that have been torn. Just the Haitians. So that's a concern. So that's what Haiti. What else we got?
We had a program on last Wednesday that was shadow banned.
Absolutely.
Interrupted, distorted, attacked. So we're gonna use a term called vacations. Okay. And we know everybody knows what vacations is a euphemism for. We just don't want to say the word. It's crazy because back when Zuckerberg and Gates and everybody else was talking about the genesis, the birth of social media, how it was going to be a great equalizer and a tool for truth. People weren't going to be able to hide behind things. Everything was going to go out. But the truth, the real fact is social media is one of the greatest inhibitors of truth and is a platform that enables organizations and people with whatever ideologies to censor the word, to censor a movement. If you're saying something that goes against what these corporations, what these ideologues, politicians, big company, big business, they'll censor you, and then they'll turn around and then they'll attack you. You know, that whole cancel culture.
Mm-hmm.
So social media, people are addicted to it, and that's really the kind of like one of their only outlets. But it's an outlet that is 1,000% controlled, 1,000% controlled. The information that goes out is the information that they want to go out to suit a specific narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about vacations, and if you want to take a vacation, you take a vacation, and if you don't, you don't. I'm not here. We're not here to sway you in either way, but the information really needs to go out, because we've got people like the lieutenant governor of Texas blaming black folks for the spread of vacations, for taking too many vacations. And this certain demographic, black, is disproportionately impacted by all these extra vacations. That's a narrative, because mostly non-blacks are the ones that have
But
really.
But they want to put a face on this, and the face of opposition.
That Willie Horton, right?
Yeah, we've become the face of opposition to the jab, and it's just interesting. I think people are more concerned with the jab, the virus, and they're not and with good reason. But the censorship is what bothers me, because people are always screaming about their constitutional right, and the most important right, one of the most important, is just the freedom of speech.
Yeah. Well, we don't have that because this is two Americas. But go ahead.
No, I dig that, but it's like it's 2021. At one point, people felt as if we had the luxury of speaking our minds on social media. I can tell you firsthand, there's a consequence for speaking your mind on social media.
Yeah, even with tongue in cheek, but yeah, go ahead.
Right, but I'm looking. I was reading the New York Post, where it says the White House flagging posts for Facebook to censor over COVID misinformation. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said Thursday the Biden administration is identifying problematic posts for Facebook to censor because they contain misinformation about COVID-19. Psaki disclosed the government's role in policing social media during her daily press briefing after Surgeon General Vivek Murthy called on companies to purge more pandemic posts. The demand for censorship in Psaki's admission of government involvement follows a series of flip-flops from health officials who contradicted themselves throughout the pandemic on issues such as mask efficacy, as well as censorship of claims that later gained credibility, such as the theory that COVID-19 leaked from a Chinese lab. Since we are in regular touch with the social media platforms, and those engagements typically happen through members of our senior staff and also members of our COVID-19 team, given as Dr. Murphy conveyed, this is a big issue of misinformation, specifically on the pandemic. They haven't proven that any of the information is wrong. They haven't proven that any of it is misinformation. But they're basically saying,
I'm right, and I say so.
I say so. That's the way it is. So people need to be concerned with the fact that, the Biden administration and Trump, as crazy as Trump was, Trump didn't even seek to stifle people's ability to speak out publicly on issues that they disagreed with. Mm-hmm. He might have said, "Shut up, you're stupid," whatever the case may be. Idiots taking a knee. He was bigoted. He was all that. But he didn't infringe upon anybody's right to free speech.
Yeah.
And it's scary when you're in a country where even when he was still a sitting president, they started the whole process of censoring him. And as a former president, he's been booted from social media platforms. So if they can silence a former president or a sitting president, what can they do to the masses of people who are just regular Joes?
Yeah.
So it's not even so much the idea of the vax, to vax or not to vax. It's a matter of, wow, first you're issuing mandates. And then on top of that, we can't, no one in the country is really allowed to speak against what they're saying. If you challenge it, If you throw out opposing viewpoints, your credibility is questioned, your character is questioned. It's absolutely insane. The crazy part is the fact that, Americans, black, white, and other, are sitting back and allowing this to happen. What happens is you begin to lose bits and pieces of your freedom and the liberty that, we often beat our chest with when we talk about how America is the greatest country on the planet. Mm-hmm. We're losing our ability to speak freely. When you talk about the show we had the other night with Dr. Whitaker, now, it was clearly shadow banned because basically no one's seen it.
Yeah.
And I talked to a number of people who say, yo, man, I want to listen and chime in, and it wasn't on your page. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I get it. But it's not cool.
No, it's not.
It's not cool. So this is 90.7 WTCC FM. My name is D.Moss, broadcasting via remote from the campus of Springfield Technical Community College. In a few minutes, I got to make sure I make up for the cards that I didn't play at the half-hour mark. But go ahead, man. I cut you off.
Yeah, so and also, certain people can, like Joe Rogan's been speaking against it. And, there's been a little opposition, but not much. Tom Hanks' son, Chet, has been speaking against it. And no one's saying anything to him about it. But Nicki Minaj says something, and all of a sudden it's just like you talked about, they always want to put a black face on something negative, instead of pointing the finger where it wasn't negative.
Yeah, she basically really spoke her truth.
Yeah.
She spoke, and it's like, if you could silence Nicki Minaj, well, what do the rest of us do when we post?
Yeah, and she's not being silenced; she's fighting back. But you got to be like Nicki Minaj in order to do that.
Right.
The other thing that's crazy that a lot of people don't. It's like, people, please wake up, man. What is it? The red pill, the blue pill? The CDC, Center for Disease Control, changed the definition of vaccine recently, like back in this past August, they changed it. So to paraphrase, the definition of vaccine basically says immunity to a specific disease. Like, tetanus, you have the tetanus vaccination, you have the smallpox, German measles, etc. Right? So you take the vaccine, you're immune to catching those specific diseases because there's a specific vaccine for specific diseases. So they changed the definition. Today it says preparation. There's preamble to that, but I'm just kind of giving you a quick synopsis. Preparation to stimulate the body's immune response against disease. To stimulate the body's immune response against disease, not immunity to the specific disease, but to stimulate the body's immune response against disease. So, I'm reading this, and the first thing, because I'm in insurance and it's all about reading contracts that's created by legal, I think they changed it, and I heard the FDA changed this too. I think they changed it because they're prescient in that they know there's going to be lawsuits coming down the pipe.
Right.
So if you change the wording and the language, now you're kind of insulating yourself from liability, just like they insulated the pharmaceutical companies from liability.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they did that back in the 70s or 80s. It's very, very, it's sinister, man.
Jim Price says that's connected to belief, perseverance, a person maintaining their original opinions in the face of overwhelming data and evidence that contradicts that belief.
Jim's dropping some science, boy. Okay. He's KRS-One in it right now.
Let me just real quick. There's an article on what you're talking about in terms of why did the Miami Herald has an article. It says, why did the CDC, Center for Disease Control?
Okay, can I interrupt you for a quick second before you say that?
Yes, sir.
Don't believe, okay? Because I know I know you got mad haters, and I know I got mad haters. Don't believe us. Do your own research. We're not pulling this stuff out of our butts. Look it up. Look it up. Get in the habit of questioning everything and everybody and look it up for yourself. Sir.
You done?
Yeah.
All right. You got to make sure everybody heard it, huh?
From the back.
Again, why did the CDC change its definition for vaccine? Agency explains move as skeptics lurk. Says this article has unlimited access for more coverage. Sign up for the daily coronavirus newsletter. Most articles you have to pay to be subscribers unless it's something validating what they've done. Some people have speculated that the unannounced changes were the CDC's attempt to hide the fact COVID-19 vaccines are not 100% effective at preventing coronavirus infection. U.S. Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky said in a popular tweet, the CDC has been busy at the Ministry of Truth. However, a CDC spokesperson told McClatchy News the slight changes in wording over time haven't impacted the overall definition. The previous definition could have been interpreted to mean that vaccines were 100% effective, which has never been the case for any vaccine. So the current definition is more transparent and also describes the ways in which vaccines can be administered. It's also important to note that the modifications to the definition of vaccine don't change the fact that vaccines and the act of vaccination have prevented millions of illnesses and saved countless lives. There remains the misconception that COVID-19 vaccines were designed to prevent infections altogether, leading people to believe the vaccines aren't working as they should when they learn about breakthrough infections among the vaccinated.
You know what?
Hold up. But the coronavirus vaccines are doing exactly what they were designed to do, which is to prevent severe disease, including the need for hospitalization and death. Even in the presence of more dangerous versions of the virus, such as the Delta variant. While data shows the coronavirus shots are preventing infections in many outbreak scenarios, the fact breakthrough infections are happening doesn't suggest failure, experts say.
Okay.
That is a horrible explanation.
That's like getting a plate of caca,
right?
Because I can't say the other word, FTC, and spraying some Cool Whip, putting some Cool Whip on it, and you're like, oh wow, and you take a bite, and you know what you got in your mouth. So it's interesting based on what you read. Here's the interesting piece. So we need to bring forward the definition. Is that what you're saying? So when the CDC was founded in Atlanta, right, in 1946.
Okay.
So you decide now to bring the definition forward? I mean, they might not have had the definition of vax. I can't see how you're going to have a Center of Disease Control and not have a definition of vaccine as part of somewhere in your charter. But 1946, and now it's 2021, and then you decide to refresh the definition. That's a bunch of.
I look at it with the vax. People have the right to choose what they want to do. If someone feels they've done sufficient research and they want to get that jab, more power to them. Research there's always two sides. There's always a number of angles when it comes to research. If you do your homework, you do your research, and you opt not to vax, I don't agree where people's freedoms and liberties should be compromised. I don't agree where anybody who's in favor of it and they're pro-vax, that's cool if you want to be in that position. I don't understand why, on social media, in the media, unless you have your own medium to get information out, I don't understand why one side is allowed to disseminate all the information they want. And then the other side, if you feel, I don't do vaccines, I don't want it in my body, I don't want it in my kids' bodies, blah, blah, blah. The information flow is completely suppressed. And it has all types of disclaimers. There's all types of stuff on there. And it's just like, are you kidding me? And now, you read where, the United States, President Biden's administration has his senior staff members calling and constantly checking to take action against alleged misinformation super spreaders on the social media platforms. So we have the Biden administration playing Big Brother. It's just absolutely insane. Mona Jordan Reed says suppress the symptoms doesn't guarantee prevention. Absolutely, it doesn't guarantee prevention.
I think P saying maybe I'm talking too loud,
right,
but I'm glad you hear
loud and clear.
I'm glad you hear me loud and clear. Listen, when you do your research, you really got to do research, because if you're doing research on sources that are trying to convince you and divert you to what they want, because you can find whatever you want to corroborate your belief.
I was about to say, when you talk about research, the problem is most people don't know how to conduct research.
Yeah.
They look for any information that supports their viewpoint, and then they say, "I have all my information." So there's no, there's no comparative analysis at all. No, and the vast majority of folks in the states have no access to these academic journals. They can get it, but no one's trying to read these academic journals.
People don't read past headlines, man.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, when you're telling people to do the research, I think at some point people need to be a little more specific and a little more instructive in terms of telling people how they need to do their research. I've had somebody, come by and visit the other day. They were telling me, you need to get vaccinated, because if you don't get vaccinated, I'm not saying I'm not vaccinated. What I'm saying is, he says people need to get vaccinated.
Do your research.
Because they're putting everybody else at risk. So I simply asked them, if you have the vax, why are you concerned about whether or not the next man has the vaccination? I mean, what's the purpose of getting the jab in your arm if it doesn't?
Yeah, it's for you. Why are you worried about?
But I don't know that, and I'm waiting for someone from we've had a number of doctors, nurses, research, pharmaceutical researchers on, and no one could really explain that. Well, if it's supposed to protect me, why should I be concerned about people who don't vax?
Yeah. Here's another thing, folks. The vaccine adverse events reporting system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the vaccine adverse events reporting system has registered over 14,000 deaths and counting on the vaccine. Okay, the vaccine adverse events reporting system. And guess who monitors the vaccine adverse events reporting system?
Who?
The CDC.
I take it you're anti-CDC.
I'm not. No, I'm not anti-CDC.
I'm
just saying, people who are talking to me, like coming to you, the CDC says this. The National Institutes of Health say this. The FDA says this. I mean, you're laying everything on these organizations. Like, since when has the government been above board? All these organizations are bought and paid for.
Listen, again, I think more important than
stop being a sycophant.
More important than the vax itself, I think I'm more concerned about losing the ability to speak freely, because they can go out to social media today. Like, I'm on 90.7 every Monday. Been on the air for 22 years. What happens if the Biden administration decides they don't like what I'm saying on the air? Does that mean I lose my radio show?
Yeah, it does.
Does that mean that, they kind of blacklist me from all the major printers in the area, so I can no longer print 25,000?
That's what it means.
So if people don't understand that, and there are people, well, if you don't vaccine, you should lose your right to everything. Benjamin Franklin once said, whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech.
Yeah.
When you suppress somebody's freedom of speech, oh my God, your liberty is on its way out the door.
Which is interesting. During Benjamin Franklin's time, there were slaves, so that wasn't meant for us.
No, but
I hear what you're saying.
With all their imperfections between him, Thomas Jefferson, and quite a few others, but despite all their flawed perceptions and views on race, I think they were brilliant in terms of looking ahead 300-400 years and saying, we're putting this document together so that the nation will have a blueprint to work from. When he says, whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freedom of speech, that's exactly what's happening in America right now.
You know what my problem is, Daryl?
Yep.
Is that all this stuff is being thrown at the feet of Black people. All of it's being thrown at our feet. But it's the virus is spreading because of Black people. This is happening because of Black people. Why are Black people so adverse to the vacation? Why are they so adverse? I mean, do these people know our history with the American healthcare system?
Do they care?
No, they don't. But it's
but do the majority of Black people even care? No, they don't. So I dig where you're coming from. You're absolutely right. And the thing is, it's just like, no different than when you talk about the Willie Lynch letter in terms of what they did on the plantation with Black people. They're doing the same thing now with modern day Americans. As long as there's a Black face on it, they'll never have to worry about white people seeing through, taking off their blurred lenses and saying, "Oh, something's wrong here." As long as they can throw a Black face on it, it's just a constant distraction for white America. That's not for us.
Yeah,
that's to keep them distracted, because you know who else is losing their liberties? White people.
That's why they marched on the Capitol on January 9th or whatever.
Absolutely.
Those people are anti-vaxxers, but you're not blaming them. You're blaming us.
To keep those folks and everybody else off kilter. And I think there's a much, I mean, not to say racism doesn't play a role, but we got to understand. It's like, think about Dr. King. He did all that march for civil rights. He marched for integration. He marched for all that. He didn't become an official threat until he launched the poor people's. Oh my gosh, I'm getting all wrong. I can't get my words out. But when he did the poor people's march through Albany and other areas, and he started bringing together poor whites, poor blacks, poor Mexicans, they had to eliminate him.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like same thing now. You got to keep these people separated. You got to keep an ounce of bigotry in the air. You got to control the tone to make sure that all these different demographics don't get together to say, wait a minute, they're suppressing our freedom of speech. Jim Price says, and now China has bought, let's check this out. Oh yeah, that's true too. Not just in America. And now China has bought up most of American lands and many companies while we owe them trillions of dollars. It's all distractions.
You know what's interesting about Jim? Jim, what's interesting about what you're saying? I remember when I was in college, you take China out and put Japan in there. Remember when they brought Rockefeller Center and it was Mitsubishi Center? So it was Japan that that kind of fueled our xenophobia, and now it's China. We just inked the deal. We meaning the U.S. inked the deal to sell nuclear subs to Australia. So we basically pushed France out of the deal. I think France, Germany, Russia. There were several countries in on the deal. The U.S. inked that. So now China's mad at Australia for that because now they're going to have, what they call a first offensive weapon. Mm-hmm. And China is just, China, listen, China's doing their. We're talking about these things, but the United States has been in a geopolitical war with China for the past decade, if not longer. But most Americans, most of us aren't even looking at that.
China is killing the chessboard right now. They're all over the globe. They're spreading all over the globe.
In the Caribbean, they're doing Africa.
In the meantime, we're fighting each other. It's racism. And folks say, yeah, it's really about economics. No, it's racism. It's about the Confederacy, whatever the case may be. I mean, at the same time, it's like we're no longer keeping our eyes on the actual prize. Yeah. So again, while folks are debating the vax, man, they're losing their civil liberties piece by piece. So when Biden says, I'm losing my patience with you people, talking about anybody who's anti-vax, I'm beginning to lose my patience. We're losing our blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like, well, it's like me threatening you and you're going, well, or what? I'm afraid of what is his or what.
We already know. I mean, they're forcing it on like governmental workers, and then they're trying to force it on the private sector. If you have 100 employees or more, the mandates. And a lot of people, when you look at the Quinnipiac poll and some of these other polls, they're against the mandates. But then when you break it down to Democrats and Republicans, you break it down to white college educated and all other college educated versus non-college educated, the non-college educated are against it. The college educated are for it. But what's interesting is when you kind of sift through that information, you look at people with PhDs and higher, they're all against it. But you said something, and my ADHD is kicking in, about civil liberties.
Yep.
Right here in Springfield, we talk about civil liberties. Do you know, parents of Springfield, I don't know what the hell you're doing, what you're thinking, or what you're not doing, but if your kids go to any of the public schools in Springfield, any of the public schools, and you know how many public schools in Springfield? There's quite a bit between elementary, middle school, and high schools. The Springfield police are sitting in a black room somewhere, watching cameras, watching your son and watching your daughters at school, waiting for any kind of misstep for them to pounce. There was a video that came out a couple days ago. A resource officer body slammed like a 10-year-old or 11-year-old.
Recently?
Black girl. These people do not care about our kids. You know how we react when someone says "you people" or "those people." Hello, those people do not care about your son or your daughter or your grandson or your granddaughter or your niece or your nephew or your little cousin. They do not care about them. And when you got people like Officer Daniele on the force,
You still going off on her.
who has blood on her hands, and this is a person who has authority and a weapon, and that's just
Why don't you just do like Charlemagne, just do like a donkey of the day or something?
yeah. Well, you know what's crazy is that you know you sift through the dirt and you find that Officer Daniele, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if I decide to sift through more dirt? And what other officers are going to come up?
In the schools right now, the surveillance is critical. You know what I'm more concerned with? And I think if you have a child in the school system, especially if they're elementary or middle school, you need to be checking in the school to make sure your child is able to breathe with that mask on all day long.
Yeah,
That's
that carbon dioxide
all day
exhale.
long. There's been reports kids coming home saying that they can only take their mask off long enough to eat. I'm not in the school system, so I can't say it's absolutely true or false. I just know the calls that I've received, and people are saying, "Yo, we need to organize around this." There's just so many concerns around what's happening, and a lot of it goes back to the mandates, suppression of information. So, I mean, there's just a lot of work.
And you know what's crazy about that? I was watching a video the other day. A girl in elementary school, I don't know, maybe preschool, first, second grade, had to be rushed to the hospital.
Okay.
Because she was using too much hand sanitizer. So, you know, your hands and everything's porous.
Right.
So her blood alcohol level, because most of the stuff's made with alcohol, was over the limit. And she had to be hospitalized off of hand sanitizer.
Well, everybody in a fear frenzy, man. When you fear too much, and that's, I mean, there's cause to be concerned, cause for concern. But man, when you fear something that much, man, you give in to tyranny, and you allow people to come along and do anything they want to do. And I am not saying overthrow the government. No, absolutely not. I'm saying due diligence, and you hold your representatives, your senators, you hold them accountable.
Hold your school committee people.
Accountability, yeah. All the
hold
way down
your mayors, your aldermen, your congressmen, your representatives, the police, the teachers. You know how many meetings I went to, not just for my kids, but for other people's kids. As soon as, and you probably went through a lot too. As soon as you walked in that room, they were like, "Uh-oh," because they knew they weren't going to get away with the okie doke.
97% alcohol, Mona says.
Yep. They weren't going to get rid of the okie doke. Yo, you got to vote these people out. Hold them accountable.
But you can't vote them out. First thing you need to do is organize. You need to find suitable individuals to replace these folks. You need to train them and make sure that they don't get in there. Otherwise, you might replace them with people who think exactly the same. You get rid of Dom Sarno and you bring in Johnny Smith, who is just another Johnny Smith in, chocolate covered or caramel colored. You can't just vote.
We can agree to disagree on that. I hear what you're saying, and it makes sense. Sometimes you need to get a cat out. That's what you.
But replace them with who?
Everyone was talking about we had to get Trump out, and we replace him with Biden.
Right, because we didn't do due diligence.
Okay, well.
So all I'm saying is, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just saying there's a step before that. It's like when people say the most important thing you can do is vote. No, the most important thing you do is put yourself in a position to be voted for. Second most important thing is to make sure you educate yourself in the political process. Make sure you stay involved in the political process. So when you vote, you know exactly who you're voting for and why.
And stop with that. I agree with what you're saying. Some of it, what you're saying is logical, but sometimes you got to just get a cat out.
Yeah, like they did with Trump.
Yeah,
like they did with Trump, and we just got him out. And look what we got now. We have the Biden administration monitoring.
And did you hear the latest on Biden? They did some sort of background check, and his family owned all kinds of slaves. But anyways, but you know what? It's
your ADHD is on fleek tonight.
Yeah, it is. But you got to hold folks accountable. But you got to stop with that. Yeah, we just we'll vote them in, and then once they get in, then we're gonna hold them accountable and get them to. No, you got to get them before they get in, because once they're in,
Isn't that what I was saying?
no,
What did I say?
because you said,
You have to find somebody suitable to
Yeah,
replace them with.
but you didn't,
You train them, you make sure they're thorough, you vet them, and then you vote them in.
Okay, now you said it.
Well, I said it before.
But a lot of folks are like, we just got to get this person in. What?
But that's
and
not-
that's what no, I'm not saying that's what you said, but I'm saying that's what a lot of those folks are saying.
Jim Price says yes, and an Asian hate crime bill has been passed, and our people are still waiting for action. We can't even get the George Floyd bill. But exactly.
Amen. And that George Floyd bill has no teeth.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't address qualified immunity, and you're giving the police more money for training. They don't need training. If you're walking down the street, you can get shot in the back doing nothing by the police. If you're Chad or Connor holding up a liquor store and you shot 2 people in the liquor store, the chances of you getting arrested without a shot being fired after you murdered somebody.
So you're telling me that young white kids can walk into a church in South Carolina, shoot up the church, kill 9 people, and get treated to Burger King, and they put a bulletproof jacket on? Is that what you're telling me?
Heavens. Yes.
And Jim, you talk about the Asian hate crime bill. Okay. I do recall that 3 people, maybe 3 people were assaulted. Don't they deserve that? I mean, those 2 to 3 people.
Man, I mean, forget the hundreds and thousands of other people
and
in
I'm
another.
not trying to belittle or devalue the Asian plight. What I'm saying, I'm with Jim. The bottom line is, what are we doing to ensure that this stuff passes? What are we doing? Again, we got Congressman Neal. Dude, did you vote for this? We have, who's the senator that ran? I forgot her name. I'm getting old. I'm getting old.
Presley?
No, man. She's not a senator.
Damn, you are
getting
getting
old. Office, man.
Yo, just use those.
I'm getting old.
Yo, type with those old fingers.
Shut up.
Type sharecropper.
Now, it's like we just need to make sure that our legislators are doing due diligence, man. This is crazy. They got training before getting hired. Yeah, they got training.
Yeah, they got training to not do nothing for us.
By their grandfather and their great grandfather and their great 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 grandfather. Yeah, absolutely, they got training. Yeah. They got cultural tradition in the family.
Yeah. Benign neglect.
But there's just so many things we need to be pushing for. There's so many things. But think about it. We want that George Floyd bill passed. We want the Reparations Act passed. We want all this stuff. And it's like, at what point, if they're suppressing our voice as we talk about something that they want us to inject into our body,
redlining, yeah.
If it's something that they want to inject into our bodies, and if we review for those of us who are like, I don't want to do that. If they're suppressing our voice now, what happens next year when we take to the streets on some, stop killing Black lives or taking Black lives? Are they going to suppress our voice again? I mean, what happens?
Yeah, because while everybody was sleeping and buying those Popeye chicken sandwiches, they started passing laws, riot laws, remember those? Like, I know Florida did, a bunch of states passed those anti-protest laws.
Yeah, a whole lot of them.
So, yeah, that's what they did.
Yep. So I'm just simply saying, people need to. My man Joe Dumpson on his page, he always asks a question at the end of every post. He said, "Are you mad yet?" People need to start getting upset. You ain't got to walk around being the angry Black man, but damn it, you got to get upset.
Yo,
about
you got to be
something.
upset and do something, not just be upset and go to the barber shop and talk mess.
Got to push for something. Somebody said, "Yo, just think deep. If you had just kept your mouth shut, man, didn't raise any alarms, man, you could still be working."
That's that coon talk.
But I was walking around City Hall with headaches trying to keep my mouth shut. I'm popping Motrin all day long. It's like, yo
there's nothing.
Can sit around and say absolutely nothing. I give them mad credit because I always wish I can do. I wish I can see without seeing, hear without hearing, smell without smelling, and just being okay with just going along to get along and not saying a word.
There's nothing you can do as a Black man or a Black woman to have yourself elevated, and for lack of a better term, to be that good Negro. They don't care how good you are. They don't like you. They don't want you. But you know what's crazy is while you're in there, telling on your brethren, they're in their room, their offices laughing at you. Like, damn, they sell each other out so fast. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're getting less than zero respect. You're not getting any respect, and then you look like a fool for micromanaging other black folks on the job, or being a gatekeeper. Oh, that person's not qualified. They need X, Y, and Z. But Randy gets in with with a half a high school degree.
Oh, so you want something else now? It's crazy. Now, yeah, absolutely. The whole thing about qualified and who's qualified, man, it's so subjective, and it changes with every new hire, man. It's absolutely insane. The city of Springfield, we have a city clerk, and I love her to death. It's my friend, but for years they were telling people you had to be an attorney, so now they've changed it to accommodate a certain demographic.
Oh, yeah, they always move.
So they move to the left, to the right, to the center. But again, I think it all boils down to public accountability. What are we doing to hold elected officials, municipality, folks up in Boston, folks in DC? What are we doing to hold them accountable? To ensure that they thoroughly represent us. Again, I look at elected officials the way I look at attorneys. If I hire an attorney, I'm hiring you to represent me. If you're out, sitting with me and I feel as if you're representing my opposition, then we have a problem. There's a conflict. When you vote for an elected official and they're no longer speaking for you, and their actions prove that they're actually working against you, why would you continue to elect that individual? He or she needs to be out of a job. If you're incompetent, you're incompetent. Get your ass out of there. So I think we got everything you're saying is on point, but I think, and no matter what you say, I'm just going to keep coming back saying, folks gotta start holding people accountable. From the mandates. If I get the jab and you don't, I still have a responsibility to fight for your right to free speech.
And listen, folks, you're more than capable of holding folks accountable, because you do it when you go down to the black-owned restaurant and they're 5 minutes late on your stuff. You go on social media and start blasting them and holding them accountable. So you damn well can hold these elected officials accountable. You have it in you.
Right. So not here to scream at folks or
scream
at the listeners. Yeah, I know you are.
This is ridiculous.
Come back and listen. You're going to make me lose listeners. Rob is like, get the whip. I'm the overseer.
Yeah, I was the FTC wasn't monitoring this thing right. FCC wasn't monitoring this thing right now, because I'd be.
But I mean, you're right. When you ridiculous. We started out talking about the Haitian deportees, folks who Haitian deportation. It's just like, oh man, we gotta start calling our reps down in DC.
Like what are you doing? Like really?
No, this is what we need to do. It's like the meeting you guys had with the mayor, and you walked in with a list, and people had a list of everything they were upset about. That's all good and cool. But you walked in a list with a list of expected outcomes. This is what I want you to do. I need you to do A, B, C. We don't do that. What we do is we have this tendency to get into offices with these legislators. A, we treat them like superstars. We're more concerned about the fact that they remember our name, or they remember the pair of shoes or sneakers we had on last time. We're more concerned with that, or taking a picture with them, than we are saying, yeah, that's really nice. I'm glad you knew my mom. That's really cool. However, are you doing what are we doing about equity? What are we doing about equity? In City Hall, equity in the State House. What are we doing about healthcare equity? We have these doctors these Bay State and all these folks coming into our neighborhoods now. Where were you when people were dying of asthma attacks in the lobby of your hospital? Where were you when you go in for heart problems, and you're sitting in the waiting room for like 4 or 5 hours?
Mortality rate of black mothers.
Oh my God, birthing mothers? Are you kidding me?
Black birthing mothers is like.
Don't tell me don't tell me about a jab, and you're trying to make sure that I make sure my health stays up. In the meantime, I got to be concerned when my girl goes to give birth to a baby. I got to worry about whether or not she comes home or not. I have to worry about whether or not my baby comes home or not, because the mortality rate is that high. So we have some issues, but it all comes with accountability. Jim Price says, yes, definitely. Tennessee versus Gardner, 1985, Supreme Court ruled that police may not use deadly force against a fleeing suspect unless they have probable cause to believe that the suspect might kill or seriously injure persons nearby. Different code. They have a completely different code.
Yeah.
Completely different code.
And now they created laws to negate that. But back to what you were saying, you know, you can't be in these meetings and just be falling for the okie doke because these people speak in platitudes and forked tongues, and you're like, yeah, we need to do this. Yeah, we're gonna create a commission, and we're really gonna address this. And you're like, okay, you feel good. You didn't get down to what the A, B, and C that you wanted. You just got, you know,
To sit across the desk.
It got sweet talked
from your mayor, your state rep, your state senator, your congressman. You got to sit in the room.
Yep, and everybody's laughing and cackling.
Right.
You're giggling and you're laughing
if you're
too.
Talking about police brutality, and you go into the meeting, you cite Tennessee versus Garner in 1985 Supreme Court. They're not paying attention because they know you're not going to do anything to ensure that they do due diligence. So it's crazy. They have a code. We pretty much accepted that code.
Yep.
It's kind of like being on the plantation. Well, you just got to go along. I've had Negroes tell me, you got to go. Shh,
Negroes.
Don't say, it's best just to let it die down. Don't say anything.
And you know what? Those conversations were happening last week.
Yeah, I know they were. Don't say anything.
We don't need to talk about that. You're an elected official.
Listen,
We vote you in. How are you gonna? Come on, man. You just want to be at the table that bad?
I had somebody from subject change real quick. Somebody from Western Mass Public Media. No, what's it? WEP, whatever it is. Hey, where's he from? Western Mass Media, Channel 57, whatever it's called. They called me, white dude called. He's like, wants to talk about the COVID, and he wants to talk with people who are in opposition of the vaccine and encouraging people not to get the jab. So he goes, so, I was told by some reputable, African Americans that...
Reputable.
Well, you let me finish, man. I was told by some reputable African Americans in the community that you were against the vaccination. I said, I'm not against the vaccination. I'm just not going to take the vaccination. It's just not what I want. I said, they need to answer a whole lot more questions for me. You can't just say, take it because I told you so, blah, blah, blah. The conversation goes on. And yeah, they also said, you have a platform and you're often talking about, why people shouldn't. And I'm like, no.
We talk about a lot of stuff.
It's just absolutely crazy. And it's like, why are these people calling me?
Why are they putting words in your mouth?
No, why are these people calling me? The other pieces.
Oh, because somebody told them to call.
For my Negro people, please, let's not have these conversations about other Black folks when we're in mixed company. Let's not have conversations about other Black folks when you're in mixed company. If you have concern with my viewpoints, everybody knows I'm so accessible in the city of Springfield. Anybody can reach me. I respond to inboxes, DMs on Instagram. Half of Springfield has my number. I'm out and about. But we should not be having these conversations in mixed company. I should not have strange white guys calling me and saying, we want you to come on a radio station. We want you to come on to our media platform and talk about your views. Absolutely not. Why would I put myself in that position? I said, how do you know I haven't had the shot? Well, I was told, they said that I said, I really don't.
Who's that?
Talk to people about what I do with my body.
It's none of their business.
So the piece is just, listen, man, we just got to stop having these conversations in mixed company. And if anybody from the media calls and said, they're trying to reach D.Moss, just know that I've been on 90.7 for 22 years. If I have something to say, I'll say it on here. I don't need to do it on Fox News, Channel 22, Channel 40, and definitely not Mass Live.
Not BET either.
We have bills to pay. We'll be right back. Oh, no, we won't. Rob is out of here. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bow. We're going to play some music. Man, today was like rant day, wasn't it? You just went off today, wasn't you, man? Today's like rant day. And then
people stay stuck on stupid, man.
Like
it's just
Jim
ridiculous.
Price steps in the building. He be dropping jewels like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Jim was hitting them with the heat. Jim was hitting them with the Missy Elliott.
Mona be in the background throwing jabs. Ta, ta, ta. Okay, y'all, we got some bills to pay. This is 90.7 WTCC FM. Let's get it started.
Do we get shadow banned? We get shadow banned on this one?
We possibly can.
This program has been underwritten by the committee to elect Janae McDonald for City Council Ward 4.
I'm Janae McDonald, and I'm running to be your next Ward 4 City Councilor because we need someone with a strong voice and clear vision. I've been working for our community by advocating for the renovation of Acorn Street Park tennis courts, addressing neighborhood parking concerns, and bringing basketball hoops back to our parks. Ward 4 deserves a city councilor who's going to speak out on issues that matter to our community the most, like making sure that we get our fair share of the millions of dollars of COVID funds given to the city. I am proud to be supported by City Councilors Justin Hurst and Tracy Whitfield. Please remember to vote on November 2nd.
WTCC would like to thank the committee to elect Janae McDonald for underwriting with us. This program has been underwritten by Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ.
Come have fun with us and help end COVID-19. Join the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ on Saturday, September 11th. Enjoy food, music, entertainment, and get answers to your questions about COVID-19 and the vaccine. We'll provide free COVID-19 vaccines and giveaways to anyone who gets vaccinated. So join us on Saturday, September 11th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ at 35 Alden Street in Springfield. For more information, call 617-904-7441.
WTCC would like to thank Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ for underwriting with us.
This program has been underwritten by the Springfield Cultural Partnership and the Springfield Cultural Council.
Hey, arts and culture family. It's summer from the Springfield Cultural Partnership. Enjoy over 90 featured exhibitors, food vendors, and strolling musicians.
48th Annual Mattoon Street Art Festival in downtown Springfield on September 11th and 12th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. The festival will feature 100 exhibitors from painters, woodworkers, ceramics, and many others. Enjoy the sound of the symphony orchestra and other live performances. There will be many delicious food options available for purchase. Parking is free at the TD Bank lot at the corner of Dwight and Harrison Street. Admission is free.
Learn more at www.mattoonfestival.org. Art lives here, art works here, art plays here.
WTCC would like to thank the Springfield Cultural Partnership and the Springfield Cultural Council for underwriting with us.
This is 90.7 WTCC FM. Let's get this last one up. Latonia Naylor.
This program has been underwritten by the committee to elect Latonia Monroe Naylor for School Committee at Large.
Calling on residents of Springfield, this is Latonia Monroe Naylor, and I am running for re-election to the Springfield School Committee at Large. As a graduate and now mother of children attending Springfield Public Schools, I am committed to ensuring that all of our students have access to a first-class public education. My meeting attendance is impeccable, and I always vote and make decisions with concern for our students, families, and SPS staff. For more information, visit my website, LatoniaForSchools.com, my Facebook and Instagram pages, or Google me. You'll find my track record shows that I am proven, studious, effective, and that I care. I know you believe that education matters and all of our students matter. Therefore, I humbly ask that you vote on November 2nd.
WTCC would like to thank the committee to elect Latonia Monroe Naylor for underwriting with us.